Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. But before we get tonight's show started, I have one announcement to make. King Simon and Friends, okay, it says presents ancient African history, the origin of Masonry and Masonic orders. This Sunday, family, October the 9th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., we have the living legend, Baba Ashwa Kwesi, is in the building. You heard it right. Our living legend, Baba Ashwa Kwesi, is in the building, okay, to discuss ancient African history and the origin of Masonry and Masonic orders. This Sunday, October the 9th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., okay? It says get your tickets now. $35 before October the 8th. So look, today is the 6th, so you got 2 more days to get it for $35. It says it's going to be more at the door. You can text 347-496-1022 for more details. I repeat, the number is 347-496-1022. Okay, for more details. He's going to be at 5380 Studios at 5380 East Mountain Street in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Oh man, I wish family, that I could be there. Baba Ashwa Kwesi, he is a living legend. I had the honor of meeting him in Baltimore some years ago when Reality Speaks. Shout out to Baba Jabari Nator. He brought him here. And as you can see, I was just showing him this backstage. I had my DVD. You can see his signature on the DVD. So people like Baba Ashwa Kwesi. I know a lot of you all feel like, Jay-Z and, and Nas and, some of the females, Little Kim and Nicki. Y'all think that those are your celebrities. Baba Ashwa Kwesi, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I'm sitting here thinking about, oh my goodness, Dr. Carruthers. I'm trying to think who else. Oh my goodness, it's a whole lot of them. Dr. Renoko Rashidi, people like that. Nana, Dr. Patricia Newton. Those are my celebrities. Those are the people, I get excited about seeing when they come to town. And so anyway, family, it says the venue is 25 minutes away from Atlanta, and there will be free parking. So family, please be in the building. Make sure you're in the building. All right. So family, without further ado, let's bring on this elder warrior. I mean, we've learned so much from him over the years. I know that a lot of young people have been tuning into the Truth to Power Talks with Dr. Ma'at. So this may be your first introduction to Baba Ashwa Kwesi, but he's been on the front lines, fighting, this cultural war that we're in, and fighting to re-Africanize our minds, our hearts, and our spirit. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring on our elder warrior. Peace and Black power.
Let's combat and fight back with Meltrax. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop. Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.
Abitumi, Abibi Fahodie. Peace to all of my thinkers, truth speakers, and truth seekers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me another powerful guest, but he is no stranger to the community. Our living legend, our warrior, Baba Ashwa Kwesi. How are you doing tonight, Baba?
So Nejab, my sister, thank you for the introduction. Health and strength and stability. I'm doing great, and thank you for aligning me with the great ancestors and those great warrior scholars you mentioned as well.
Absolutely, Baba. It's an honor and, a privilege just to be, sitting here talking to you. When you text me back, I got all excited, like you text me, Baba Ashwa Kwesi text me back. I mean, Baba, I'm telling you, I don't think you know how much you mean to the community. You and your wife. I mean, you all have been putting in work, for years, and for our people, and taking tours, lectures, and I mean all sorts of things, Bob. And so, like I said, it's just an honor, you know, to be able to sit in dialogue with you tonight. And so, family, take a moment out to thumb up this video, thumb up the video. You already know how the YouTube algorithm works. The more you engage the video, the more it shows up in your feed and other people's feed. So take a moment, thumb up the video, family. Also, family, share this video. Okay, let's get this information out to the people. Sharing is caring, right? So let's get this information out to the people. Make sure that you share. Also, family, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Some of you all come over here for free interviews. You come and watch the interviews, but you don't subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. Also, family, be sure to check out my Truth to Power Talk playlist. I've brought on people like Dr. Malefe Asante, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Sandy Darity, Dr. Julianne. I had Baba Anthony T. Brown on a few times, Professor James Small, Dr. Kaba Kamene, and now tonight we have on Baba Ashra Kwesi. So make sure, family, you go back into the archives and check out those discussions. And lastly, family, join me back here each and every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Read Book Club. This Sunday, we will be discussing Chapter 4 of The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. And in this particular chapter, we're going to be talking about white flight and how that impacts the community. When white folks start leaving out, what happens to property values, right? What happens? And so, you know, we're going to be getting into that this Sunday. So make sure that you tune in. I already see a lot of my regulars, Baba, are in the building. I just want to take a quick moment out to acknowledge them. Peace to a beautiful mind. I see you, Queen. Peace to Sister Anusha. CJ Young, I see you in the building. Virgo Venom, peace and love to you, beloved. Lamar Pope, peace and love to you. Keenan Wright, I see you, brother. Shalina Williams. See, I love when the sisters, Baba, tune in. They say that when you teach a man, you teach an individual, but when you teach a woman, you teach a nation. Ashe. And so I love when the sisters are in the building. So peace to you. Peace to you. I see Danny, Yoshi, Ron Green, Lord Wynn, Ra. Peace to you. Wig Williams. The Uhuru Academy. Shout out to Baba Amin in the Uhuru Academy. So peace and power to you, Baba. All right. And I see Amina, peace and love to you. And King Simon, I just held up the flyer, King Simon, and I'll be showing people the flyer periodically throughout the show. So peace and love to you, King Simon. And I see Maine Armstead. So peace and love to everyone under the sound of my voice. So Baba, let's jump into it, Baba. First of all, when you and I were dialoguing on the phone, Baba, I said, Baba, you know, I want the people to hear you describe your journey being a student of Dr. Ben, because there are a lot of people in the community who claim to be students of Dr. Ben, but they weren't really students of Dr. Ben. You were there. I've seen pictures of you with Dr. Ben. And so you studied under Dr. Ben. And so what was your journey like being a student of Dr. Ben? When did you get introduced to his teachings? How did his teachings impact you? How many times did you go to Kemet with him, Baba? Just tell us your story of your journey with Dr. Ben.
Thank you, Dr. Ma'ad. Well, first of all, again, say Santi Sana, many thanks for being on the program. And also shout out to Nesu King Simon for having this program that's coming up. And yes, it's been a journey. I can't believe it's been 41 years now. And I have to go back to 1973. 1973, I heard Dr. Ben at Long Beach State. At that time, I was in a lot of pain because the Gestapo beast LAPD shot and killed my friend, just like we see going on today, shooting brothers and sisters down where that happened to me as well in witnessing him being killed. So Dr. Ben was a very powerful speaker. And again, I was in the mode of revolutionary suicide, going with that title that was out at that time. But many of the brothers said, brother, you got a lot of spirit that you can give the people. We know that you're angry. You want to do something about what happened to my friend. But it was Dr. Ben at Long Beach State. When I heard him give a very powerful lecture on African spirituality and African history, information that I was not familiar with. That was the inspiration that I had at that time. In fact, I stopped Dr. Ben after the lecture and I asked Dr. Ben, can you prove what you said here today? And he said, young man, I can take you back and show you. But above all, we need young people like you to go back and do the field research. And that started my dream. I said, I want to return back to Africa with Dr. Ben one day. I made that journey in 1981. I did not know at that time that I would spend 14 years doing an apprenticeship under him, traveling with him nonstop. He saw the seriousness of my work that I was doing. In fact, it was the first ASCAT conference in 1985 in Los Angeles, where I lived at the time. And in fact, Dr. Ben was there, Dr. Clark was there. In fact, I could say that was my most nervous lecture in 1985. At that point, I had traveled with Dr. Ben for about 5 years. And so he saw me doing the work, and he asked me, are you returning back to Kemet? And I said, well, I don't know. We were, having a young family and everything. He said, well, if you can make it come, everything will be taken care of. So that started my journey and apprenticeship under Dr. Ben, and traveling with him and doing the field research. He said, above all, we have to do the field research because it's the books in stone that our ancestors the information. We're talking about books in stone. We're talking about the great temples. We're talking about the Neterhets, or the divine house, as our ancestors referred to it, the greatest structures on the planet Earth. It's not in Asia. It's not in Europe. Definitely not in outer space. It's not extraterrestrials. It's right there on the African continent, where it started. Our ancestors started that great journey from the fallopian tube. And what fallopian tube I'm talking about? I'm talking about that 4,000, approximately 200 miles of the Nile Valley, where our ancestors started their journey, bringing and carrying with them that spiritual story that they observed from Mut Netchit, Mother Nature. And from their empirical observation is with our ancestors, where they developed the African spirituality that they started to document there in Kush, which is the mother of Egypt, and the land of Ta-Nehisi, referred to as Nubia today, and going on into Kemet. And Kemet, for those who are not familiar, means black. And it's right there on the temples, in the oldest language called the Medu Neter. This is long before Arabic, long before Aramaic. And it's sad that, unfortunately, we find ourselves in all these various institutions, whether that be church or whether that be the synagogue, in some cases, even the mosque, and also Masonic lodges. And many of the stories are told in these institutions, for the most part, is outside of Africa. But without the spiritual story of Africa that our ancestors told on the books in stone, none of the various religions nor the Western civilization would not exist. And so that's the reason why Dr. Ben said we must do the field research. Prior to Dr. Ben, most of the journeys back to Kemet, a lot of people were going back at that time, a lot of church groups going to see the pyramids that they say the so-called evil pharaoh got the Jews to build, which there's no story whatsoever about any Jews building the pyramids in Kemet that our ancestors referred to as the Mers. Pyramid is a Greek word. And then they would go on to Jerusalem, and then that's the start of their story. Whereas in Kemet, you don't have what they say something used to be there. You go to Jerusalem, it used to be there. Solomon's temple used to be there. All right. You don't find that in Kemet. The great Mers or pyramids are there. The greatest temple on the planet Earth, Ipet-Asut, that our ancestors are rededicated to the spiritual deity Amen, right there on the African continent, where many of our ancestors who went to that school, over 80,000 students matriculated there. So up and down the Nile, making this journey with him, and now taking hundreds of brothers and sisters back ourselves. That's my Neterhemp and I. Neterhemp means divine wife. Neterhej means divine husband. In fact, Mary Ra is the one that researched those two terms. And so one can have it from not only from an African man's point of view, but an African woman's point of view. And there we are able to bring brothers and sisters back from the books in stone and reveal on the reliefs and the monuments and temples many of the stories that were corrupted in the Western world, in the Western version of what we can say white supremacy Christianity, because that's all we see in the imagery and so forth, and many ideas that were taken from the temples. So over the many, many years, I have conducted visual documentation so people can have an eyewitness account from slide presentations and from the information and documentation that I have documented over the years. So brothers and sisters can have an eyewitness account. And so this is what we've done over the years. And it's been an inspiration for many brothers and sisters who've gone back there. And if I seem like I'm a little tired, I am. I've been up since 5 o'clock doing Zooms and radio shows.
Baba, you're doing wonderful. I'm just taking it all in right now,
Yeah.
Baba. It's like it's I'm glad that you touched on the pyramids and the mirrors, because you have a lot of people who say things like, well, it was slaves who built the pyramids. They were slaves. And I said they weren't slaves. Well, how were they compensated then? What was their compensation from building the pyramids? Could you unpack that a little bit, Baba,
Well, again, this is
proceed?
the story. This is the narrative that we get from the biblical account, and this is primarily coming from the Jews. I remember back in the 80s when Sadat was standing in front of the pyramids with Menachem Begin, and Menachem Begin said his ancestors built the pyramids, and Sadat told him, right, we have no history of that, of any Jews building any pyramids here. There were no Jews during the time of the fourth dynastic period. We're talking about the time of Akhet Khnum Khufu. That's the builder of that pyramid. Hamenenu was the builder for his Nisu, his king, and that is Khufu Khnum, Akhet Khnum Khufu, excuse me, his whole name there. So again, but keeping it in that story, we are locked into this whole Jewish narrative. And through that, we have not been able to see the African story. In fact, it's from the Cecil B. DeMille's movies and the Moses and the Charleston Heston movies that we get every year to indoctrinate the minds of the people. The only documentation of an expulsion of a large group of people out of Kemet, that story is told when Neb Petty-Ra, who expelled the Hyksos. So Neb Petty-Ra, this is the documentation that our ancestors left us of the expulsion of the Hyksos. That's the only story of a large group of people being expelled out of Egypt during the 18th dynasty. We're talking about the third golden age. But unfortunately, this is how our people have been taught and brainwashed, okay? And then we are locked into this Hebrew story as though that's the beginning of the story, when in fact, many ideas in Judaism were actually stolen from ancient Kemet. When we look at the first Bibles, where were they written at? They were written on the African continent. Where in the African continent? We're talking about in Alexandria, Egypt. Why in Alexandria, Egypt? This is the library that the Ptolemies built to honor Alexander, who wanted the knowledge of Kemet to be housed in one place. This is where the Ptolemies started to study intensely. And even to this very day, Alexandria is known for a Jewish city because of these Jews who were there studying ancient Kemetic knowledge. Stories like the Adam and Eve story, that was taken from the stories of ancient Kemet and corrupted. Not Adam and Eve, our ancestors did not call it. It was called a Sar and a Set, who they were created simultaneously. There was no rib taken from a Set, okay, to make a Sar.
Come on, Baba.
I mean, we all got navels. We can all see where that navel is there because of that umbilical cord. All right. We don't have a scar on our side to show where some rib was taken, but these are the things that the misogynists, who were the patriarchs who created these stories. Our ancestors had the whole spiritual foundation of Ma'at, meaning balance. And in that balance, we even saw the spiritual deity in that balance. We could not conceive of a God, okay, without a goddess.
Come on.
A goddess without a god. That was the spiritual dialectical laws of opposites. But the patriarchs brought in this whole misogyny thing, and then had the hatred towards the female principle. And from that time out, we've only referred to the deity as he, even though we see that in the Bible where it says, let us, okay, and I've been asking preachers about this for a long time, let us make man in our own image. So I said it must have been a marital dispute, and they kicked the goddess out. And the only thing we've seen is this whole masculine point of view of the deity. But Kemet, everywhere you see in Kemet, it had a spiritual balance. And depending on what period it is, like for instance, we have Ptah, and Ptah, the spiritual deity, on the opposite of Ptah, the wife of Ptah, that would be Sekhmet. So again, we see that balance there. Whether we go in Upper Egypt, we see Amen, and we also see Mut, different periods of time. And people may bring up and say, that sounds like polytheism to me. Okay, many gods. No, it depends on what period it is. Just like in the Bible, at one point God is called El, another point God is called Elohim, another point God is called Yahweh. Nobody says that's polytheism, okay? But now that we're having an awakening to our ancestral knowledge, and as we're going through this awakening, we see an attack on our ancestral story, an attack on those who are trying to tell the story, whether that's Dr. Ben, whether that's Dr. Clark, and many others, and the battles that we went through, especially during the early 90s, trying to stop this knowledge from being revealed to many brothers and sisters as we were lecturing on the college campuses and lecturing at the grassroots level in the communities around the country. And peace be upon him, as Bobby Wright would call it, the community. And by us bringing this knowledge to brothers and sisters, and many of the students who are coming from inner city going into the colleges were struggling with their grades, but hearing this information, they turn into straight A students. And then this became worrisome by European professors and saying, well, where are they getting this knowledge from? Okay, where they're talking about Socrates and Pythagoras, and the brothers and sisters come in there talking about Imhotep. Here's an African who built the world's first stone building, still there, okay, we're 5,000 years ago. And a physician, a multi-genius, will we reveal on the Pra'anka, the House of Life, where you get the term hospital from. You see the medical instruments, where a sister broke down one year and cried. And she said, I'm a medical doctor. How can racism be so vicious where I can actually see these medical instruments right here? And it was not revealed. And she had to deify Asclepius, but not knowing that Asclepius was actually Imhotep. So this has been the fear of us returning back, okay, to Africa, to the northeast corner, by the way. Many of the Masons who, in fact, the lecture I'm doing this Sunday will be on ancient African history and the Masonic orders, okay, the origin of Masonry and Masonic orders.
Let me show the flyer. Let me show the flyer really quickly again, Bob. I know I showed it at the beginning, but I want to show it again so those people will know what we're talking about when you say this Sunday. So again, family, this Sunday, King Simon and Friends presents Ancient African History, the Origin of Masonry and Masonic Orders, this Sunday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, tickets right now is $35. More at the door. You can text 357-496-1022 for more information. Baba will be at 5380 Studios at 5380 East Mountain Street in Stone Mountain, Georgia. So this is what Baba is talking about right now, family. He will be in the building this Sunday. Get your tickets now, family. Get your tickets now. Baba, please continue.
Right, Asante, sister. Yes. So again, we come up with the documentation from our field research so we can see, and that no matter what walk life a brother or sister is in, you can see that it came directly from our ancestors, from the books in stone. And as I was talking about, why are we coming with the whole Masonry? There are many brothers who are into Masonry. And like I said before, not only Masonry, but in the church, the synagogue, even the mosque and temples and so forth, in some cases have no idea or totally oblivious to the fact that this came from our ancestors. The knowledge that they've been taught to deify and different various things in their religion and so forth, like the Masons who talk about they're a traveling man. So I asked the bro, where are you traveling to? Okay, but yet his mind is not relating to the fact that a traveling man came from the Greeks, like the Pythagoras, who traveled to Kemet to get the knowledge.
Come on,
so that became a traveling man to the northeast corner. They say you're going to the northeast corner. That northeast corner is right there in Kemet, the northeastern part of Africa, where the knowledge is at. And again, their orientation is around Solomon and Hiram Habib. So again, you can't find Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. They say it used to be there. There's a wall there. They say it may have been there. But when you come back to Kemet, there's no used to be's, as we spoke of the Murs of the Great Pyramid of Eke Khufu. And there we line brothers and sisters up, okay, when we come back there and we feel those 5-ton stones and touch the stones and give the oath to the ancestors. After all, people go to Jerusalem and they stand before the Wailing Wall and they pray. Nobody says nothing about that. But here we have the oldest structures on the planet Earth. This is going to connect us for the emancipation of our minds, returning back to the ancestral homeland like everybody else returns back to various places to connect them to their ancestors, like the Jews going back to Jerusalem with their bar mitzvah and so forth. So by coming with this lecture, we can, brothers who are in the craft, okay, can see where many things that they have been taught, the symbolism that we see that's in the Masonic order, all these things are corruptions from the operative builders. The operatives are the builders itself. There in the Cairo Museum, I revealed to brothers and sisters who are there and showed them where many of these ideas and the symbols came from that became the speculative Masonry. We go into like America, okay, there in right here during the Old Kingdom. And here we see during this time, we see that Merobuka is the Jejeti, okay, or high priest for Teti during the 5th dynastic period. And there he's got the collars called the wasket. He's got the shindet, okay, it's called the apron. He's stepping out on the left. And we do a comparison to show that George Washington is standing exactly as he is, holding the operative tools of the trial, which means the spreading of brotherhood. Well, they didn't spread no brotherhood on African people. They spread slavery, death, and bloodshed. So they were not looking at it from a brotherhood level.
Not at all.
After all, as I said, we are a stolen people. So we've got to look at, being that we are a stolen people kidnapped from Africa, the question got to be asked, what else has been stolen?
Come on.
And that's we want to open up our mind. When we go into the Hetchet Heru, the Hetchet Heru is the White House of Heru. We look around America and see things and symbols, and many of the stories are right there in the symbol itself. The Hetchet Heru is the White House of Heru. And let's look at the White House. Where did it get its name from? The presidential symbol of the United States, okay, the falcon, or the eagle rather. There's copied from the falcon of Heru. We go into this temple, and that's one of the things that I make sure that I do, reveal the reliefs. It's one thing to go to Kemet, and the temples will blow your mind, okay? But once you get into the reliefs, that's a whole nother story, okay? We don't tiptoe through the tulips, nor do we let the guides take over. We are totally in charge the whole time when we're over there, because there are many things on the reliefs that many of the guides are not going to talk about. Some cases they don't know about. In some cases they don't want to talk about because they don't want to offend the Europeans. Well, we've been offended for 400 years, okay, first of all.
Come on, come on.
But coming back, okay, with all brothers and sisters from all over the continental U.S. and Europe and the Caribbean, that's why we call our tour Kemet New, okay? Kemet News means black people. That's who we take, black people, because now it's time for the emancipation of our minds now. And that emancipation got to start with us as a people collectively going back to where it all began, where we can start to pull ourselves together as a people. But back to the Hetchet Heru, there we reveal where the Nesu, or the king, is kneeling on the square. Okay, he's got one knee down on the square. Okay, he's got one arm over his heart. Okay, because it's the heart known as the ebb that had to be weighed on with the feather of Ma'at, of truth, justice, and righteousness, and one arm up showing the spiritual realm. And doing a comparison with some of the pictures, like George Washington at Valley Forge is on the square. So when Kaepernick, can you imagine if Kaepernick knew that when they were kneeling and he said, I'm going back to my ancestors, I'm going to show from the books in stone where this represents truth, justice, and righteousness on taking a knee from the injustices, okay, that's being perpetrated on African people, and African people being killed and shot down in America. Can you imagine if he showed that? Okay, and then also show George Washington kneeling on the square, and they're going to get on these brothers for taking a knee for the injustice that's been taking place on African people. So these are some of the things that I'm going to reveal. But of course, first, starting with that beginning, to show a chronological, because one of the things that we have lost is chronology of time. Our time has been oriented to or circumscribed to think within a 2,000-year time period, and we think within that diameter. Or in other words, we think from a time period of the Western world. But we have got to go back where our ancestors acknowledged their beginning. And that's very important because now they want to keep our mind outside of Africa, right? When it comes to Kemet, just like you mentioned a minute ago, they said some Jews built the pyramids. No documentation nowhere Jews building it. Excuse me, of the pyramids. Now they want to take it to extraterrestrials. So what did Kemet show us? Okay, what do we see these little people, okay, known as the Twa, in Kemet called Bes, derogatory name called the Pygmies. And there we see on the Mimizi house. The Mimizi house is the birth house, and you see these little Twa on top of the Mimizi house. That means the birth house. Why are they there? Well, let's look at the birth house, means birth. So they're identifying with the Twa as a symbol of birth of their beginning. Dr. Ben's favorite quote, we came from the beginning of the Nile where God happy dwelt at the foothill of the mountain of the moon. That being Kilimanjaro and Zori. I've been to both those places. I've been to the Congo, see the Twa, where Hakuf had to make his expedition for Pepi II to bring back the Twa. So they're honoring their beginning. They're honoring that Kui land. They understood where they came from. They understood where the beginning of the civilization of Kemet, where it originated from. So we're going to reveal that. and show that the signs and symbols that our ancestors left us, that are still there, they're still prevalent all around us, but because we don't know a lot of our own history, we don't see the symbols, but we will reveal those symbols in the presentation. When I was in Japan, for instance, and I saw symbols of these little twa, and they always showed them with their tongue sticking out. Had I not studied, I would not understood what that symbol is. And that is a symbol of the little twa. In the middle of the Aztec calendar, we see the little twa. All right, these first people that our ancestors acknowledged. And returning back to the twa myself, and as they were referred to as the dancers of God, and I'm able to show them. So that's going to be the start. That's the foundation. But then we're going to come on to Kemet to show how our ancestors brought to us and built for eternity. That's what they built for, eternity, because as though they knew that one day we would forget our story. And one of the oldest colossals on the planet Earth. And that is Haru and Akhet that the Greeks corrupted into the Sphinx. Now here is a colossal where initiations took place. And a dream stellar is there that Menkaperad Tahuti Mays IV, okay, who put it there because he was initiated by the Grand Master's grip of the lion's paw of Haru and Akhet. And this is how he became the Nesu king. And this went on for thousands of years, even before him. And they don't know how old this colossal is. And one of the things that we do when we're over there with the group, we stop the bus so we can get a side profile where brothers and sisters just gasp when they see the phenotype of this massive colossal, 240 feet long and over 66 feet high, and see the profile of this African right here, that no matter who came in as invaders, okay, whether it was the Greeks or the Europeans, whether it's the French, they all had to look up, or the British and even America today, they all had to look up at the greatest colossal on the planet Earth to see that this is an African colossal. So, of course, these racist, psychopathic racist European Egyptologists, they are the ones who are there now and who were there before, who came in at one time trying to destroy a lot of the history of ancient Kemet. And they said, well, let's just make it white. Let's just call it the Harenboke white race, okay? You go into the museum, in the Cairo Museum, and you see, here we see Maharpa, jet black, very melanated, and Maspero, who was the curator of the museum in the late 1800s, I guess he's looking at it. He said, well, I'm going to put up here so people can take their minds off of the fact that he's black. He's Negroid, but not actually a Negro. So these are the kind of things that have been done to take our minds out of Kemet, to take our minds away from where our ancestors built for us for eternity, and seeing the monuments and temples. But above all, what we want to do in the presentation is to reveal this information and to show where our ancestors who built many things that we see all around us all the time. And many of the brothers, whether you're in a lodge or not, whether you're a Mason or you're not a Mason, you can see where many of the symbols that one may have in Masonry where it came directly from African people. In fact, we went inside of the Step Pyramid, the world's first stone building, and we were told last year in 2001 that we were the first group to go inside of this structure, okay, the Step Pyramid. It's called Step Pyramid because of the steps that Imhotep built for Zosenetiket symbolically to climb the staircase to heaven. There was no mythological story of Jacob's ladder, did not exist. That did not exist during the time that that was built. So going in there, brothers and sisters, are just breathtaking to see this structure here, where they built 100 feet down into a shaft, where what is known as the sarcophagus, as it's called today, is down in there where Zoser, where his body was placed at. I mean, this is absolutely breathtaking to go inside a structure that's that old. Now, keep in mind, when we say over 5,000 years ago, I don't care what you believe, did not exist yet. All right. And the religions, okay, what we were taught in school about all these Greeks and so forth, did not exist yet.
That's right, Baba.
And the fear, Dr. Ma'at, is that having these communiversities that we're going to have and revealing this to brothers and sisters, that is going to open up the young minds. It's going to open up with also Dr. Richard King, peace be upon him, who would say a genetic memory bank. And there we're going to reveal how our ancestors observed Mut Netchet, or Mother Nature, and how nature played a major role in the building of these structures. And even though when our children go to school, they are taught about the Fibonacci and the golden ratio started with him and all this stuff, when our ancestors understood Matnechit, and everything is in a golden ratio, whether that's our fingerprint, whether that's the nebula. So if somebody came with some spacemen or some extraterrestrials, just say, look at your fingerprint. Those are the black hands that built the pyramids, and that's the golden ratio that they observed in building a structure in a circular motion. The even is also in the temples itself, where our ancestors were able to use the hypostyle hall and the golden ratio. And also we will reveal many other things about these temples to show that even the architectural structure of the Western Church, again, was copied from the temples of ancient Kemet. And this has been the biggest fear, Dr. Mahat. I know I said a lot there. Maybe we can
No, go ahead. I'm listening, Baba. My spirit is moved right now. I'm listening. I feel like I'm being fed right. I'm being fed right now, Baba. Please continue.
So we have, again, peace be upon her. My mother, she's an Eastern Star, okay, and I took her back to Kemet, and to show where the whole idea of the Eastern Star came from, with the order of the Eastern Star. Although the misogyny and the Shriners, okay, who have that Eastern Star in their order, corrupted it and turned the star upside down. That star represents the goddess Aset, okay. Here, that star today, the Greeks refer to as Isis. It is here that star was referred to as Sabu-Sipta. Saba is star, okay? So again, Sipta, our ancestors saw the heliacal rising of that star, told that Aset, that spiritual goddess, was going to come back with her husband in the constellation of Orion. And as the star rose, it turned red, white, and blue. So when I was in Washington, D.C., in the Freemasonic Lodge, and I went to their Ankh Manu. The Ankh Manu is the holies of the holies. And by the way, that idea came from the temples of ancient Kemet, because all the temples have a holies of holies. It did not start with Ezekiel, as they told in the Bible, with the holies of holies. But again, in their holies of holies, they have some cloth, and the cloth is red, white, and blue. And the names that are on that cloth is Osiris and Isis. That's the Greek name for Asar and Aset. And I asked the curator, I said, why do you have this red, white, and blue and Osiris and Isis on here? And he said, that's the secret. Well, I knew what the secret was. I just wanted to know what he was going to say. Okay. Right. Because when that star rose, it turned red, white, and blue. So when Francis Hopkinson, okay, he's designing the American flag, where's the American flag where's this idea coming from? This is coming from the goddess Aset. The heliacal rising of that star that told them of the flooding of the Nile, that star turned red, white, and blue. So even the American flag, all right, as we know that these early beginning of America were Masons, and where were they drawing their knowledge from? When we go to the morals and dogmas, okay, of Albert Pike, okay, who started the Ku Klux that became the Ku Klux Klan, by the way. Again, when you go through the morals and dogmas, everything he has in there is relating to the spiritual Shishata system called the mystery system of ancient Kemet. So when we see that the Eastern stars, and they call the daughters of the Nile, and all these other terms that they use, we in many cases, being in the lodge, are totally oblivious to the fact that this is coming from our African ancestors. And again, I think one of the reasons why many brothers become oblivious to it, because when they have their God in the Masonic Lodge, is an old white guy, okay, with one knee on the square, by the way, is representing as the God or architect of the universe that's on the square. Well, first of all, where is that idea coming from? I already talked about how the knee is on the square of truth, justice, and righteousness, but that is coming from Ptah, who is represented as the architect God of the universe. So again, by taking away our black divinity, which is the foundation of the making of the religions, it's the foundation of what they stole from ancient African spiritual stories to make up these various stories that they have, but above all, taking away our black divinity. And by taking away our black divinity, the only way we see the whole, whether we're looking at the religion of Christianity or Judaism or the Masonic Lodge, we see it in many cases from a white person's perspective. We find ourselves being a caboose, okay, to what white folks do.
That's
and
right.
Not realizing, right. So even when we have the young brothers who are the Black Greek letter organizations, okay, who are branding themselves. And I thought we had enough branding on the slave plantation.
Come on, Baba. Right? Come on.
But again, because they don't know, they have the Knights of Pythagoras. All right. I mean, how are you going to have the Knights of Pythagoras When Pythagoras came to Kemet to study for 22 years, never finishing his total initiation of 40 years, he took that knowledge back to Europe, and now we're deifying Pythagoras. And asked the brothers, well, what about the Knights of Imhotep? Well, who's Imhotep? So again, this is what is now we find ourselves as mental slaves today. A mental slave is that we still are practicing and deifying Europeans and creating white idolatry. White idolatry is worshiping white images and worshiping white folks' ideas that are corruption of ancient African spirituality. And this is the sad thing when we see these things, when we're talking about the various ideas that we see that the brothers are practicing in various ideas. When we talk about and symbols that I show when I'm in Kemet and I see the Nesu sitting on his throne, the square, and he's sitting on the throne of a set. And again, that also represents Ma'at, of truth, justice, and righteousness. And you go to Washington, D.C. and other areas, places, and you see George Washington sitting on the same exact thing. So by having a community where brothers and sisters can start to see this, because we all have a genius within us, Dr. Ma'at. It's only until we evoke that genius where brothers and sisters can see where many of these ideas came from. But unfortunately, when Europeans got together and created various things, okay, to make sure that they would keep their white supremacy in order and creating what they called the Illuminati and all these different various organizations that came out of that, whether that's the Round Table Group, the Cecil Rhodes, okay, who was creating genocide on our people. Again, with the image of him standing over the African continent, one leg on in South Africa and one leg in Egypt. And then many of the brothers say that they can't give up the secret. Well, the secret is that our African ancestral knowledge that they stole, that you see Cecil Rhodes standing on the African continent. That is the secret. And this is the travesty to hear brothers say that they can't give up the secret when the secret is the African knowledge. The African knowledge has been stolen by the Europeans, just like we are, as I said, a stolen people ourselves. So again, this is about coming together, having a community and revealing this information that many years, it did not happen overnight. I did not always know this. I equally had to go and do the field research. To research this information, as Dr. Ben said, we have to go back and do the field research. And so that's what we're coming with in this community, Dr. Ma'at.
And so, Baba, going back to that, so you studied under Dr. Ben. Did you say for 40 years? I want to make sure I quoted you accurately.
No, that was 14 years with Dr. Ben. I was with him for 41 years of traveling back to Africa. That also includes the 14 years with Dr. Ben.
Okay, yeah, you studied directly under Dr. Ben. Yeah, Baba, in
the field, doing the field research, assisting him with the tours and taking care of a lot of things that he needed to be taken care of at that time. Okay, traveling with him. So this was over the years, and it was a struggle over the years, but I would do it all over again to make sure that I'm right there in the field with this Grand Master Teacher, Elder. I mean, my father, he was a victim of the Korean War. Okay, so Dr. Ben was like my father. He was the father that I did not have because of my father being a victim in the Korean War. So that became a close association with him. He was a spiritual father to me.
Ashe. Family, this is the event that Baba is referring to, family. I want to hold on. Let me put this on the screen. All right. And so this Sunday, October the 9th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., Baba's going to unpack this information. So I saw in the chat, some people said, you know, are they going to live stream it? Can they live stream it? And King Simon put in the chat that this event will not be live streamed, family. So you have to be in the building, okay? You have to be in the building, all right? So Baba will be in Atlanta, okay? Not Atlanta, I'm sorry, Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is 25 minutes away from Atlanta, this Sunday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., family, okay? At 5380 Studios at 5380 East Mountain Street. Okay, tickets are $35 before October the 8th. Today is October the 6th. So, family, make sure that you get your tickets ASAP because it will be more at the door. You can text 347-496-1022 for more information, for more details. The number is 347-496-1022 for more information. Also, family, I know a lot of you keep saying, I need to get this information. I won't be able to make it there on Sunday. But Dr. Ma'at, where can I get this information? Please make sure. I'm going to drop this link in the chat, family. Hold on. Here is the website. Some of you are saying, where can I get this information? All right. You can get your information, more information from www.kemetnew.com. And so all of the tours that Baba mentioned, he in his beautiful compliment that they conduct each year, you can go here to find out more information. When I poked around on the website today, I said, Baba, I didn't know you went to Ethiopia too. He said, Dr. Ma, we've been going to Ethiopia for about 30, 40 years now. And so I got to go to this. I want to go to his Kemet tour as well as his Ethiopian tour. And so definitely come over here, family. Check out the tours. Also, his lectures. All right. Check out some of the lectures. Here it is. I think it says order products. Here we go. Here we go. This is what we were talking about earlier today, Baba. You can get some of his lectures on DVD, or you can get the digital videos. Okay. Some of his books, audios, CDs, jewelry. So come here, family, to check it out. All right. Beautiful website with a lot of good information. And I would not tell you to do something that I haven't done myself. I was showing Baba that he signed my DVD some years ago.
That one goes back in the day. I mean, I had all black hair when I did that one. And that's when we were under a serious attack, all right, trying to stop the knowledge from coming out. And but that information, we have to reveal that information and show brothers and sisters that we can't get caught up into the deification of the Europeans' history and getting caught up in all these mythological, allegorical, biblical stories, okay, that have no historical fact whatsoever, but a corruption of ancient African spirituality. And our ancestors left the books in stone to prove it. And that's what I'm going to reveal, Dr. Ma'at, okay, to show. Okay, many of the things I'm going to talk about, I like showing the information, like revealing the information, not just talking about it, but here
not just talking about it.
All right.
That's right. That's right.
And do a comparative analytical analysis, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Bob. And like you said, they say pictures are 1,000 words. Like I said, I'm not going to talk to you, but I'm not going to talk you to death. I'm going to show it to you, right? Demonstration beats conversation every time. And I know a lot of people running to go see The Woman King, right? Well, this was my introduction right here, Baba, to look at this. Mary Kwesi, the African Goddess Spiritual Foundation for Ancient Kemet. All right, that one. And this one right here, she talked about, I want to say this was the ancient African queens. Remember I said, Bob, I can't really read the writing on this one, but I want to say it was the queens of Kemet. That's what I want to say, Bob.
Right. Sisters in the, look, maybe, was
that Sisters in the Struggle. Yes.
Some of the Black women liberators. Right. Yes. And one of my favorite is the cultural destruction of African fashion. Okay. Brothers like that more than sisters, it seems like. And environmental racism. In fact, Mary Ra and I, we met in Kemet. That was back in 1993. In fact, it was in 1991. I was going through a lot of rough times at that time, and I walked through the temple of Ipitasut, dedicated to Amun, and I walked through those 134 columns, massive columns, 79 feet high, with greatest architectural structure on the planet Earth. And I called on Amun. I said, I've given homage to thee, and now my enemies all around me. I need a netter hemp to be on my side. And in 1992, Mary Ra came on her family came on Dr. Ben's tour, and her father and I, we became good friends, and we started dating. And Dr. Ben did our marriage ceremony in the very temple I asked for her. We've traveled the world together. We've lectured together. And in fact, I'm kind of lopsided because King Simon did ask for her to come too, but she's caught in a sandwich right now, taking care of our new granddaughter. And peace with the information that she's been working with, and also where her father is 99. I hope I can be as good as him at 99.
Ashe.
And when we came out of or right during COVID and everything, as you know, we had an ice storm down here, and a lot of people died down here, transitioned because of hypothermia, and we went through a very rough time down here. And so we had, our house had problems too. So we were out of it for quite some time. That's why the whole Zoom and everything, I'm just now catching up because we had to take care of our house and the family and everything and had to just stand back for a while. So we're getting everything together, and our tours, we started that back up in 2021. Right after COVID, we had a great tour then and also a great one this year. And we have to take 2 tours because of the popularity of our tours. We have to do 2 tours because of so many people. So we are over there over a month when we're over there. So we're honored that many brothers and sisters love coming back with us on this journey.
Absolutely. So, Baba, I have one more question before we close out. Baba Amin of the Uhuru Academy, he put this in the chat, and his question was, he said, how do you, or what are your thoughts when you hear people saying that Africans in America have no connection to Kemet? Because what a lot of people will say, Baba, is that we came out of Western Central Africa. So why are we, we're not connected to Kemet? We come from Western Central Africa. That's where they grabbed it.
That's like saying, okay, I grew up in the Pittsburgh area and I have family back there. And now that I live down now that I live down here in Dallas, Texas, I have no connection with them because, they're way over there in Pennsylvania and I'm way down here in Texas and I have no connection with them now. This is the insanity. Again, when we go back, as I started with the fallopian tube, as I referred to the Happy Valley. All right, it's now called the Now today. Now we're looking at the Art Bar. We got to include the Art Bar. We've got to include, as James Bruce would refer to as the Blue Nile that our ancestors called Amadaye. And these were the spiritual and cultural waterways in the Happy Valley coming up out of the Great Lakes region around Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. It's now been documented that without that region, we wouldn't even have humanity on the planet Earth. So when Africans went out, they went out to West Africa, South Africa, to the northern part. In fact, migrated out all over the planet Earth. So again, this is part of the self-hatred that is going on. And that self-hatred has been going on for a long time, even when I talked about the lodge.
I'm with you, Baba.
Prince Hall did not call the lodge Prince Hall Lodge. He called it the African Lodge. But there, at that time, there was the assimilationists, okay, who wanted more of a connection with America, okay, than with Africa. Even though many of the brothers, okay, at that time and sisters were identifying everything with Africa, okay. The AME Church, okay, that acronym represents Africa Church. They were identifying their institutions with Africa, but there was always this fight with those who did not want to identify with Africa. So we're still dealing with that same crisis, even to this very day, of the self-hatred that was embedded in us to hate Africa and not connect with our ancestors. And keep in mind, this is orchestrated. In some cases, we have agent operations to make sure, again, to keep us away from Africa. All the things that I'm talking about validates it. The spiritual systems are all over the African continent. They all represent the same thing. It may have different names, but it represents the same thing. So again, to say that we have no connection to Kemet, then that's one of the things that we do when we take our group back and brothers and sisters gas. And what do? I would take brothers and sisters out the group and put them right next to one of the reliefs of one of our ancestors, and brothers and sisters just gasp when they see the phenotype exactly to those I'm asking to stand right next to the relief. So we don't have a connection. Again, we can see the phenotype of the Africans on the monuments, and we can see the same Africans that we see that those of us who come back there. So again, this is the problem that we have today of those who do not want to connect anyone who will go to Kemet on a proper educational tour. All right, would not come back saying that same thing. These are people who are locked into a mental and psychological enslavement and hatred towards themselves. And as Malcolm said, the hating of ourselves and those who are caught in this is also a hatred towards Africa.
Ashe, Baba. And one more question, Baba. I know I said that was the last one, but Brother Shimsu asked a really good question. Shimsu Netcher, peace to Brother Shimsu Netcher. He said,
Haru. Those are some of the early Africans that laid down that great civilization. So that's a great name, Shimsu.
Yeah, Shimsu Haru. Yeah, that's that brother. He's a really deep brother too. He said, Dr. Ma'at, lots of people today. Ashe. He said that lots of people today are claiming to be comedic priests. Can you ask Baba Kwesi, what is a comedic priest and what did it consist of to become a comedic priest?
Well, again, it was in Kemet, in ancient Kemet, it was 40 years. One had to go to school for 40 years to become a Kariheb. That's the Kemetic name that was referred to as a priest today. And as I was saying a minute ago when you brought that up, one of the things that I do in Kemet with our group, all the brothers who have shaved heads, because many of the priests have shaved heads, okay? They cut their hair off. And they're there at the temple of Amun. I will ask them to align themselves with the priests who are carrying the Ark of Amun, okay, in their hand. And I ask them to stand up exactly to as they see the priest carrying the Ark of Amun. Amun is the jet black spiritual deity, as I said, that we say at the end of our prayers, okay? That came up out of ancient Kemet. So again, brothers and sisters, again, when I line them up against the relief and the pylons or the beckonets, brothers and sisters just gasped when they see the likeness of those Karihebs and the likeness of the brothers. But back to the question again, yeah, the Karihebs, those were the priests. They were the intellectuals, okay, in ancient Kemet, okay. They are the ones who understood the knowledge, okay. They were the ones who were the scribes, the priests. There were various priests in various levels. You had the Sim priests, okay. They were like the what we refer to as the undertakers, all right, that did the burial ceremony, okay. So just like we would have today, and whether it's a university or the different levels, you would have those who participated depending on where their levels or their skills were at. But the highest would be the Karihebs, who were 40 years of initiation that it took for them to finish their complete initiation as a Kariheb. So when we look at Imhotep, okay, he would have been a great Tajeti, high priest, okay, for his Nesu king Zoser-Netuket. Are we looking at Amenhotep, the son of Hapu? Okay, he would have been a great Tajeti high priest, okay, for Amenhotep III. There's always those who were the Tajetis, okay, for their Nesus, their kings. So for those who are saying that there are the Kemetic priests today, I think that we have to evoke the culture, all right, and bringing the culture to our people. And as long as they are participating from an African spirituality and an African story, and I think that this is a way to, after all, you got these Europeans who are priests of this and priests of that, to make sure that they continue to indoctrinate the people's mind into a European culture. So for those who are priests and are studying the ancient knowledge of ancient Kemet, and they're educating brothers and sisters about ancient Kemet, then this is I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right. So Baba, I'm gonna have a little fun after I get you off of here with Colin Jones. Colin Jones, I want you to stay, brother. I'm gonna drop the link for you. Baba, I don't want you to leave yet. And Colin Jones, I don't want you to leave yet. I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna have a little fun, Baba. It's just a little bit of intellectual fun. Good. Just a little look, just a little bit of intellectual fun.
I've been drinking my caffeine tea. Like I said, I've been up since 5, but I'm okay.
Just a little intellectual fun. So hold on, Bob. I gotta look for I should have my sound effects ready, but sometimes I don't have them ready. But I gotta drop a bomb for you, Baba. You were the bomb. You dropped a lot of powerful information, Baba, and I thank you. But I gotta drop a bomb. Fire! 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 Everything you spoke was fire, Baba. And so, family, please make sure you get your tickets. Let me show it one more time. Baba will be in the building this Sunday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? In Georgia. All right. At 5380 Studios at 5380 East Mountain Street in Stone Mountain, Georgia, where he's going to be talking about ancient African history, the origin of Masonry and Masonic orders. All right. This Sunday, October the 9th, 2 to 7 p.m. Get your tickets now.
Oh, yes. I want to say many Asante Sanas to King Simon on, he's put on many communiversities.
Absolutely.
Now he's down in Atlanta. So, we are honored that I'm coming down to Atlanta for this program, and he's put a lot of work into this. And this is what we have to keep alive. We cannot depend on social media. People say, well, why is it not streamed? Okay, well, I come out of the 70s. And coming out of the 70s and being attacked, okay, by the Gestapo many times, I'm aware of, okay, that, you know, you can have having this put out all over the place, it could create problems. And see, we have to be aware of that, okay? Just putting stuff out there on the airways all the time. So it's a time that we've got to come together, all right? It's like if we go back to the plantation, were we making strategies to run away on Master's porch? Were we sitting on the porch talking about how we were going to run away? No, we were out in the bush. We're out in the bush. All right. So we got to, you know, so that's the same thing when we start to put out this serious. Now, this is serious knowledge. This is serious business here. All right. So we just can't get carried away with the technology. All right. Yes, we can use it for us, but it can be also used against us. So we've got to always be mindful of the fact that, you know, this technology that, you know, when it's time for us to come down with business and the education for liberation, then we got to come together with our communiversities and come together as an African family and feeling comfortable without the situation of being targeted. And we went through that. We went through that in the early 90s. Okay. I was attacked. Okay. Dr. Ben. Okay. Another teacher of mine, Khalid Abdul Muhammad. All right. His son went to Marcus Garvey School, and my daughters went to Marcus Garvey School. So I would see Dr. Khalid all the time. And he heard that I went to Kemet. He saw him when I was going to Ethiopia at this particular time. And he asked me to come to the lodge. This is about 1982. And come to the mosque, rather, to lecture. So I would lecture at the mosque all the time. And Brother Khalid being a spiritual warrior, uncompromising, for those of us who know him, a serious warrior. And as long as you were talking about us as Black people, you could lecture in the mosque back in the day. But again, because we were educating and liberating of our people, we got to be mindful of the fact that we're always going to have enemies out there, Black and white, by the way, okay, who are going to try to stop this knowledge. So I'm not one who streams everything that I do. Okay, because I'm not going to tone it. I'm not going to tone it. I got to bring the information to our people, and there's certain information I don't want certain people to hear out there that I don't know. Of course, people can come to the lecture too and still be in the same agent operation. But again, you know, we still have to maintain some kind of control the best that we possibly can.
No, absolutely, Baba. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Everything shouldn't be live streamed. You know, everything is not for the airwaves, like you said. Everything is not for the airwaves, Baba. So I couldn't agree with you more. But Baba, thank you so much for coming out tonight. You know, and just coming on. I'm sorry, to share your you know, your wisdom with us. I learned a great deal of information. Matter of fact, I probably had to watch this interview a few times to catch everything that you said, because you said so much. You said so much, Baba.
I was talking fast, and I'm have to come back again, Dr. Ma'at, when I'm have a little bit more rest, because I was on Carl Nelson's show this morning.
Oh, okay. I gotta check it out then. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I was on Carl Nelson, and then I also had another Zoom that lasted for all day. Okay, about some other things that I'm working on. It's been a long day for me.
Oh yeah. And Baba, get some rest. Yeah, get some rest, Baba.
Now, you know, we're Brother Jabari. Okay, we will be back in Baltimore, and Brother Jabari is another young warrior for many years who have had communiversity. So, Brother Jabari, that's going to be in November. Okay, in Baltimore. Okay. So we'll, in fact, I think we will have another communiversity. That's your radio show, your program. I'm calling it. That's what it is, a communiversity.
Absolutely, I call it the same. Absolutely.
Bobby Wright. Bobby Wright. He's the one that started that. So we'll come back, and we're going to deal more in depth with the Bible, because that'll be the lecture on African history and spirituality, the origin of the Bible. So we'll do that for Brother Jabari in November the 12th. And for those who might be in the areas of Pittsburgh, I'll be in Pittsburgh October 19th. That's William Marshall. I don't know, should I give the number out? Dr. Watt?
Yeah, if you want to, Baba, yeah.
Yeah, that's 724-205-9376 in North Carolina. Brother Terrence, okay, 919-423-6337. And again, King Simon, that's this Sunday, October 9th, and his number 347-496-1022. So that'll be this Sunday, an African history and ancient African history and the origin of Masonry and the Masonic orders. We're going to have a good time with that information, with visual documentation to validate where many of these ideas came directly from our ancestors and corrupted to make up the Masonic order. So even though you're not a Mason, it's okay, because you're going to be familiar with a lot of the information I'm going to show for those who will come out, but we may not be aware of the symbols.
Absolutely.
Africa speaks to us all the time. It's all around us. And of course, we're going to start with ancient African history so we can follow a chronology. We may have uncles, okay, and relatives who are in the Masonic orders. So when they come and start to talk to you and say that they're a traveling man, and then you can say, well, where did you travel to? Did you travel back to Africa where it came from? And when they talk about the secrets, then you can let them know that that secret came from Africa, okay?
That's
not
right.
The parrot, the Scottish Rite or the Royal Arch Shriners, in which they took it and have a human skull. With at one time they put blood in it. Now it's wine, symbolically that they would not give up the secret. So they're just parroting them when they say they can't give up the secret. The secret, we are the secret. African people are the secret.
That's right, Baba.
So people who want to stay away from Africa are literally staying in a slave consciousness. All right. When the knowledge is coming directly from African people, and then we want to we want to stay on the plantation. So I suffer from drapetomania, okay, and it's still on the books, a runaway slave. All right, it's mental now. So there are still those who are afraid, just like on the plantation, to run away. All right, but those who got drapetomania, they are runaways. All right, so for those of us who are breaking the white supremacy gravitational pull, we are runaways. All right. We're running away from what they have told us in America, and we're going back to what our ancestors told us on those great monuments and temples that our ancestors gave the divine names of the Pa'ank, the Neterhet, okay, the House of Life, and on the great beckonets there, they carved in stone endlessly. How can we now just turn our back on that and stay in America and just continue to deify, okay, what these people are still doing to us in this mental and psychological slavery today?
Absolutely, Baba. Well, Baba, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Someone asked November the 12th, where will they said November the 12th will be where? They missed that.
November the 12th, that will be Brother Jabari, okay, in Baltimore. That'll be in Baltimore. We're dealing with the African history and spirituality, the origin of the Bible. And I can give his number again, 410. And that is 3. Let me make sure that number is right. I messed up my own writing here. That is Brother Jabari, 410-303-4120. Again, 410-303-4120. And again, we can't forget King Simon. That's this Sunday in Atlanta. Okay, again, 347-496-1022. And that again, I'll repeat, ancient African history, the origin of Masonry and the Masonic orders. We're going to have a good time with that. And for that community. So again, it's about education for liberation. And
education for liberation, Ashe.
Right. That's what we're having.
Ashe. Well, Baba, again, thank you so much for your wisdom. Family, sit tight. I got Baba Amin. He's backstage. He's in the building. I'm waiting for Colin Jones to hop on. I'm going to have a little bit of intellectual fun with the brother who said we not Africans in the chat, Baba. But Baba, I want you to get some rest. We love you. We appreciate you, Baba. We honor you, and we give thanks for your wisdom and all of the work that you have put in, Baba, to liberate the minds of African people and to Africanize the minds.
If you're not African, you're suffering from negrotosis.
Come on. If you're not African, what you suffering from, Baba?
Negrotosis.
Negrotosis is Ashe. Baba, thank you so much for coming in. Family, I'm going to play the outro, But don't go nowhere. We have 95,000 people in the building. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to play the outro, and then I'm coming right back with Baba Amin so we can, talk to Mr. Colin Jones about this We Ain't Africans. But Baba, thank you so much. I will be in touch with you, Baba, and I will be one in the building when you come down to Baltimore to come and support the event and come learn from you, Baba.
And we're coming from the knowledge that goes back thousands of years.
Ashe, Baba, Ashe. I'm seeing if he... Ashe. Someone said it's a pretendian in the building. Ashe. All right, Baba. Peace and black power to you, Baba.
Black power to you, my sister, Dr. Ma'ad.
Black power.
Let's combat and fight back with Meltrax. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.